Alright you guys, I am back. And today I'm going to take a look at a 2013 sci-fi alien invasion movie. That movie is Pacific Rim. Yes folks, Pacific Rim. I'm just going to get into this real quick because I want to talk about this movie. It was directed, written, and produced by Guillermo del Toro. I would like to say right now, I saw a trailer for this film when it was first in theaters. I watched one trailer, and I went to the theater and watched this thing, and I loved every single second of it. The writing. Well, this film is just about 2 hours and 10 minutes. And you guys remember how when I reviewed Monsters last time, I said that film had horrible pacing problems? This movie has amazing pacing. The 2 hours and 10 minutes, they fly right by as if it was nothing, like you're just so drawn into it. And that is because all the characters are fleshed out, they have depth, and you can care about them. And those are three big things you need in your movie to make people want to watch it. But that's not all. Just the acting? I'm going to tell you guys right now. There is a show out there called It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I tried watching that show. I didn't find it funny. I found the acting horrible. I just couldn't get into it. One of the actors from that show was in here. He was amazing. Or I don't know which one it was. I know one of them, yeah, it was a he. I know that much for sure. He was amazing. And it backs up my theory that the only reason that he couldn't act like that on Philly is because the writing is so bad. But really, if you ask most people, they'll say the same thing. Just the entire cast, not a single actor in here was bad. All the characters are fleshed out, they have depth, you can care about them like I just said. However, there are about 5 people who really are just there because they're there. And they don't play a huge part, so you don't really care about them, but it still works. All the acting, this has some of the best acting you will ever see in an alien invasion movie, including giant robots. But I didn't talk about that. The plot to this film is a bunch of aliens come from beneath the ocean, so all the governments build gigantic robots to fight them. Now, yeah, so the acting's great, the writing was great. I would like to talk about one thing for a minute. I have 2 questions about the writing. First off, in one line they say that these Jaegers, which as you can see are like gigantic robots, run off diesel fuel. Okay. I really don't see why you're using diesel fuel when you're like 20 years in the future and you're fighting aliens. Like, that just didn't make sense to me, but whatever. Second, the Chinese Jaeger, yeah, they have Chinese people in this, which kind of seems fitting. They have 3 pilots and 3 arms. Why? In fact, why do you have 2 pilots to control the Jaegers? They kind of say that the neural thing was too much of an overload on the human brain and a single pilot would die. But then why didn't they make it more like the Japanese anime style robots where it's like a cockpit style for a fighter? But you know what? Unless you dwell on that too much, the film will be great either way. And really, if you only had 1 pilot, that would destroy a whole lot of the tension that this film had. Okay, now moving on. The effects. Wow, these are some of the best CG effects I've seen in a long time. The Jaegers, the kaiju homeworld, the explosions, everything looks amazing. And in fact, the kaiju actually look a lot like the Cloverfield monsters. If only only the Cloverfield monster, I know there was only one. If it was covered in lights and it could spew acid and they could have wings and all that. And I do know that the effects team who worked on this are working on the up-and-coming American Godzilla movie. Guys, if any of you are watching this, you guys rock. The CG is amazing. Music. This thing had an amazing score, but just telling you right now, they had a sound-alike to the march from the original Godzilla movie. That is one of the most famous pieces of music in like a alien monster movie ever. And it is the best sound-alike I've ever heard. And I have heard a lot. Oh boy, camera work, lighting, all of that was great. So when it comes right down to it, can I recommend Pacific Rim? You bet I can. If you love alien movies, if you love giant robots fighting aliens, go watch Pacific Rim. If you want to find a great blockbuster movie, go buy this thing, guys. Just do that. And I have 2 questions before I go. 1, why isn't there a Pacific Rim comic book? I know there's a graphic novel, like the Origins kind of, where it's like before the movie. Okay, yeah, that's cool. But why isn't there like a monthly comic book or a big graphic novel? Because this thing could be expanded upon so much in comics. My second question, why is there no sequel? Granted, this thing only came out this year, so, you know, unless they confirm a sequel right after the first one was done, but I don't think that's really often that they do that. But I want a sequel to Pacific Rim, and I want it yesterday. I want to go back to the theater and spend my money and then watch this thing with a sequel in theaters. Oh boy. So you guys, go watch Pacific Rim. You guys just need to. It's an amazing film, great blockbuster, and if you're watching it with friends, it's all the better. Well, that's all the time I have for this week, folks. Until next week, this is the Media Raptor saying, I will see you guys around.